everybody.
Hello. How are you?
It is on, I think. Can you guys hear me in the back? Yeah. Awesome. All right, welcome to the research section of RITSEC. If you haven't already, please sign in at signin.ritsec.club. If you got pizza and didn't sign in, I'm very disappointed in you. So first off, I want to give a big thank you to our sponsors. They're what makes this whole club happen, and they're what let us get pizza every Friday and feed it to all of you. So big thank you to all of our Diamond, Platinum, Gold, and education sponsors. So Shannon, you want to talk about the barbecue?
Sure. So following this event, we will have a barbecue. It's in the area next to Gracie's. We got lots of food for everyone. All of the leftover food, please take it home. I don't like burgers. Please get it out of my face. But it should be a really good time. Definitely be there. If anyone has a ball that they could bring or like a Frisbee, that'd be dope. Interest groups. We have lots of interest groups. An interest group is exactly what it sounds like. It's a group that meets outside of the time of RITSEC so that they could talk about topics that they are interested in. Reverse engineering is led by Stuart. Woo. So that's a cool interest group. Definitely talk to him about that. There is a when to meet both in workplace and on RITSEC club/about for that interest group. There is also the Women in Cybersecurity interest group. We meet for an hour every other Tuesday to just kind of chat and hang out, get to know each other. That's really it. We're also going to have industry professionals come talk. Team Contagion is led by Duck. He runs CTFs, so there's a bunch of CTFs both by RITSEC and by companies that you can sign up for, so they kind of get together and practice those. And then we have RVAP, which is led by Will. I don't know if Will's still here, but that is pen testing and vulnerability assessment. Those run Sunday. He's really good at what he does, and he works for Ingressive, which is a sponsor, so he can maybe get you a job if you're good enough. And then the last one is what we do, reversing, women in cybersecurity, pen testing. What's the last one? Contagion, we did. Duck. Yeah, we're done.
Yep.
Cool. So yeah, do that. Maybe Loudon will start one too. We'll see. Yep, there you go. Workplace, if you haven't signed up for Workplace yet and you want to join our community, we are Security Through Community. That's the best way to do it. So yeah, sign up for Workplace. I'm sure you've all done it by now. Hackathon is this weekend. Jack, our competition architect, you want to talk about that?
Hey guys, I'm Jack. This Saturday, 10 a.m., we're doing Hackathon. Hackathon is a 24-hour cybersecurity tool building competition. So you come, write a cool tool, present it, win a prize. Go to Workplace, under announcements, there's a registration link. You have to buy a free ticket to get food, so go do that. We will be giving you breakfast, lunch, dinner, midnight snack, and second breakfast. So come through. And then we have a lot of caffeine, so don't worry about it. Keep you awake. We'll have a lot of energy. You'll have me. I'll keep you excited. If you don't know how to do anything, that's all right. We'll teach you some Python, teach you how to do a little programming, have some fun little projects. If you don't have a project, we'll give you projects. If you have a project and you want people to work on it with you, that's perfect. Come on over and we'll give you a group to work with. Yep, that's it.
Go there to sign up.
Please register so I know how much food to buy. That's it.
Cool. So if you guys are on Workplace, then you're probably going to get most of our announcements anyway. But if you're not, and you should be, you can also sign up for our newsletter at mail.ritsec.club. There is where we send out a weekly email with information about what's going on at the meeting that week. So it normally includes a little bit of news with some fun clickbait titles, details about the presentations we're going to do, and then information about what's going on in the education section. So if you want to sign up for that, mail.ritsec.club. If you guys ever want to present during research, if you've got a cool project or a fun thing you worked on or did a really cool thing at Hackathon and you want to talk about it with the rest of the club, sign up at presentations.ritsec.club. It's really awesome and you get some cool stuff if you present. If you guys have any projects that you want our mentorship program to work on, please submit your ideas to projects.ritsec.club. If you are a mentor or mentee, or if you're not and you just want to see some cool project that you've got in the back of your head kicking around get done, then you should definitely check that out and submit it, and you might end up seeing some new students work on it. Next weekend, hopefully on Saturday, we're going to go to Letchworth as a club, go around, hike, see some cool waterfalls, and explore. If you guys are interested, sign up at letchworth.ritsec.club. There is the sign-up form so that we know how many cars we need to have go and how many people we need to get there and back. I'm also the mentorship lead for this semester, or this year, sorry, and we are looking for more mentors and mentees. If you guys don't know what the program is, we bring groups of underclassmen together with some upperclassmen mentors and some alumni mentors, and we have them work through a project that they can put out in their resume or help them learn some new skill. We're really excited to get that started this year. If you guys sign up, look for an email from me soon. If you haven't, you really should consider it. Shannon, you're up. Yep.
Hey, my name's Shannon McHale. I'm a third-year computing security student here at RIT. Some people call me Lil Prez because I'm tiny, which I'm okay with nowadays. I'm secure about it. It's taken a while, but thank you all for helping me. I used to be the treasurer of RC3 and RITSEC. If you don't know what RC3 is, that's okay. You don't need to, it's dead. And then I was the WIC PR head. If you're interested in joining WIC or doing anything with WIC, they do a lot of outreach. You can teach computing security and inspire the youth. So that's a pretty cool thing. This summer I was at the MITRE Corporation working on Caldera. I'm all over that GitHub, so definitely go look at me. I'm a little hacker, up there, this and that. Through that, I love America, USA, let's go. I got a big onesie for that. It's pretty cool. It's a little worn out. We're getting a new one this Christmas, though. See you there. I run the WICSIS interest group, like I said earlier. I founded that for no good reason, and then I am the red team member, and I go to like 10 conferences, and I'm also doing black team this year for ISTS. So if you have any questions about anything, I'm all over Workplace, so yeah.
Hi, I'm Adriana. I'm the Director of Public Relations. I'm a third-year CSEC major. And I really like dogs, so please send me pictures of your dogs. This is my new puppy, Coda. And all the other things about me aren't as important, so I'm just
That was impressive.
All right, hey guys, I'm Owen. You heard me ramble and the first half for a good number of minutes. I'm the head of education. I'm a fourth year. Hopefully it's my last one. I'm a novice red teamer. My stuff doesn't work too well, but I still have fun doing it. I really enjoy hockey. Season's going to start here in about a month. Super pumped for that. Pretty hardcore memer. If you send me some dank memes, I will send them back. And I really like to stay hydrated at the local watering holes. So if you are of hydration age, you are more than welcome to hit me up and we can go stay hydrated together.
Hey guys, you all should know me at this point. I've been up here like 4 times. I'm Ian, or Imposter. I'm the head of research this year, and I'm going into my 4th year, which I'm super excited about, but also terrified because that means being a real adult soon. I am the mentorship lead. I love all of my mentees and mentors. We're going to have a lot of fun this semester. And I really like to be outside, which is why we're going to Letchworth next weekend. So you can probably find me at least once hanging around on my hammock or slackline somewhere around campus. If you guys want to talk to me about conferences, Internet of Things, incident response, policy, and whatever else, I'm always hanging around the labs or campus or at the RITSEC events. So come find me. We'll have a really cool conversation. Jack.
My name's Jack. I'm the ISTSCA, also doing Hackathon. I red team, do CCDC. I worked at MITRE last summer, and I'm maybe graduating. We'll find out. Yep, that's what I look like without a beard.
Hello, everybody. I'm Quinton. Most people call me Cube because a lot of people have trouble pronouncing my name. I don't really know why. I am a 4th year, graduating in a year and a half. My security interests are reverse engineering, malware analysis, and incident response. I am the competition architect in charge of the CTF and the incident response security competition. You can find me sitting, reading 30 minutes early to one of my classes in the labs or at the pool.
Hello, I'm Amanda. I'm your treasurer. I'm kind of a third year. I've done CCDC. I'm in WIC. I'm in WESIS. I'm in the honors program, et cetera, et cetera. I worked for IBM's X-Force Red this past summer, and I like doing pen testing, a little bit of reversing, and in general, breaking windows.
Hello, everybody. I'm John. I'm the secretary. I'm a third year. I love my dog. He's a great guy. What I do in my free time, I do a lot of red teaming. I do a lot of malware, Windows specifically. I dive, and pretty much you'll find me in the labs or the pool, or hopefully sleeping, but not much of that. So.
Hello again. I'm Troy. I'm the tech lead. I make challenges for you guys to solve and have some hands-on experience. I'm going to focus a little bit more on beginners this semester and next semester. So if you're stuck or if you need help, please feel free to reach out. I'm mostly interested in offensive security. However, I'm trying to learn every aspect of IT in general. And yeah, that's about it.
Evan does lots of stuff. He had to go to class, so.
What is Evan's role?
He is our infrastructure lead. And ops lead infrastructure-ish. All right, he's our operations lead. There we go. All right, so this week in the news, Cisco had a vulnerability in one of their VMs that they pushed with their routers. Let me pull up the article. Right, forgot about that. It's been a day. Good. All right, so Cisco had a vulnerability in one of the VMs that they ship with their routers, which allowed an unauthenticated remote access to the actual router, which allowed remote code execution. It was really cool. I haven't actually gotten to take a look into the demos of it, but there was an API that the VM exposed, which bypassed some of the auth, and you could capture, I think, a token somewhere? Yeah, you could capture a token ID, which let you bypass a bunch of stuff and have RCE in the box. So they released a patch for this, which is good because now they are mitigating most of it, and the core won't actually let you start up the VMs that have this exposed or have the vulnerable VMs actually running still. So that was really cool. HackerOne just announced that 6 hackers have become millionaires off the platform, which is awesome. If you're not familiar with it, HackerOne's a bug bounty program, so it lets hackers connect with the companies that actually have services or have things exposed and have bug bounty programs so that they can actually get rewarded for finding issues with the environments and then get paid for it. So there have been actually 6 people now that have become millionaires just off of doing the bug bounties in HackerOne, which is really cool. And then last news article for this week, Apple apologized for having the Siri Talk stuff. So essentially what this was is Apple had people reviewing some of the Siri transcripts to improve the actual platform itself, similar to how Google does with the Google Homes and Amazon does with the Siris. But Alexis, yep, my bad. So Apple just came out and said basically that they're not going to have this done unless you opt in now. So you have to actually opt in to listening or having people be able to review your interactions with Siri, which was really cool. And it was a nice thing to see how one of the companies was finally stepping away from the standard of not even, 1, talking about it, and 2, not letting the people actually have a choice on the other side. So with that note, we are going to jump into our presentations for this week. Who's excited? There we go. All right. 1 second to get this set up. Hey, Nathaniel, you're up. All right. We're going to try this. This is yours. Just
Test, test. 1, 2, 3. Test, test. 1, 2, 3.
Well, I mean, if you don't talk that quiet, it'll be good. Well, hopefully you're a lot of interest on this.
Very cool.
there. Nope, that's not what I wanted.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. Where's the mouse? There it is.
Oh, that's perfect.
All right. Good luck.
All right. Awesome. First presentation of the year. It's an honor, really. So this presentation actually came, I was driving home from last semester in May, and I was listening to a Darknet Diaries podcast about this topic. And so I went home, read through a bunch of court documents that it referenced about this case, and I thought it was really interesting, so I kind of put my own spin on it, did some more research, and created this talk. But first, who am I? I'm Nathaniel Beckstead. I'm a 4th year. This is my last semester. I'll be graduating in December, which is very scary. I don't know what I'll do with my life. But I like to do blue team a lot. I've blue teamed a lot of different competitions, repping that ISTS 17 shirt. A lot of my projects are with automation and the cloud. So if you're interested in that stuff, definitely hit me up. I do a lot of projects. My GitHub's full of random partially completed projects. I'll pick one for the hackathon. I don't know. And I guess I have a legal interest now. Court documents weren't as bad as I thought they would be, and they're somewhat interesting. So if you like policy, court, legal stuff too, we can definitely talk about that. I blog at scriptingism.life, and like I said, my GitHub's pretty active. This past summer, I worked at IBM, hired through their managed security services team, but a lot of my projects were with IRIS, which is Incident Response and Intelligence Services. So I did a lot of automation with their threat intel platform and a couple incident response tools too, which was super cool. And I also worked at KeyBank in the SOC 2 years ago, which was, it's cool to get the same different experiences with internal security as well as a consultant. I would definitely recommend that for your co-ops. And who is this? Well, this is Roman Seleznev. He is a Russian native, born in Vladivostok, Russia, but right now he currently resides in a Federal Correctional Institute of Butner in North Carolina, and he'll be there until about 2058, I think. So there's a lot to this. We're just basically going to unpack his life in this talk. So to give you a little bit more information about him, so he was born in Vladivostok, which is on the east coast of Russia. But he also had homes in Moscow and Bali, Indonesia, which, fun fact, doesn't have an extradition treaty with the United States, which may come in handy later on. So format of this talk is basically going to be a timeline. There's several phases of his career as a cyber criminal, and we're basically going to walk through each one. So he was basically his entire adult life in cybercrime. So he started in 2002 at the ripe age of 18 on these illegal darknet forums, and he started selling fools, F-U-L-L-S, which are basically entire identities, name, date of birth, social security number, which is what you need to commit identity theft. So he sold those. I'm not sure, there aren't too many details about going back this late, but he got a hold of them somehow, started selling them on the darknet to make money. But then 3 years later, that wasn't profitable enough. It was kind of hard to get social security numbers, even back in the early 2000s. So he transitioned to credit card numbers, which is what we'll be talking about mostly today. That started in 2005. And that's when he started to be tracked by the Secret Service, which, if you didn't know, besides protecting the president, they also deal in fraud and counterfeiting. It's really interesting. I'd highly recommend if you can go to DC and get a tour of the Secret Service office. It's super cool. So they're the ones that are going to be investigating him throughout the 2000s and actually prosecuting this case. And so he's now dealing in credit card numbers, being tracked by the Secret Service. How did he do it? It's pretty simple. He basically scanned for open RDP on the internet, logged in, just guessing credentials. So he targeted mostly small businesses in the United States, and a lot of them shared the same tech provider. So this is early 2000s. Everyone's just kind of outsourcing their tech. Like, what is this computer thing that I have to do now? And this tech provider used the same password on their, basically like their access to that vendor box. So he had a list of like these vendor passwords, and it got him into a ton of machines. And he would drop malware that basically intercepted these credit card numbers from point-of-sale systems and then exfiltrated them to several different servers. There were some in Ukraine and Russia, but he also had one in Virginia, McLean, Virginia, which was a HOP1, just a virtual private server. And that's kind of where he did a lot of his operation. And eventually the US did get access to that, and they had a network tap on it. And so they get a lot of good information from that. So the US does some investigating. Obviously, they don't really reveal their techniques, but somehow magically they discover him to be Roman Seleznev. So they fly over to Russia, and they meet with the FSB, the Federal Security Bureau, I think, which was formerly the KGB. And they basically say, like, hey, there's this hacker that's attacking small businesses in the US. We want some more information on him and prosecute him. And conveniently, 4 weeks later, NCOX goes dark. He announces his retirement, and there's no more activity from him. So a slight overlook by the Secret Service. Seleznev's father is actually a member of the Russian Duma, which is like the Congress of Russia. He has a little bit of power, and somehow he received federal protection basically from the FSB and their cybercrime unit. So yeah, we're not really going to be touching him. He's pretty high up, I guess, his father is. So yeah, this makes it really hard. But in 2009, so 3 months later, he comes back as track 2. We don't know that, but very big red flag. So he comes back on this forum. He's a new user, and he's instantly a verified and promoted seller on this forum, which is a little bit fishy. You know, Darknet pretty much runs on reputation. You've kind of got to build up your brand so that this new guy just coming onto the platform, and he's instantly a seller. It's a little bit fishy, and we know this guy is not new to selling credit cards. So he created 2 sites, track2.name and bulba.cc, and they had some pretty big innovations for the credit card selling industry. So one of them was automated purchasing. So now rather than messaging the seller, being like, hey, I'd like 3,000 MasterCard cards, now you can just go to his site, put in whatever searches you want, and download that zip file, which really speeds up your operation. You don't have to be dealing with these requests. People can get them as soon as they want them. And so he's doing really good right now. At his height, on one day in April 2011, he posted 1 million fresh dumps in a single day. Not credit card numbers, but actual dumps of thousands of cards, which is a huge scale at this point, especially for 2011. This is also when he's indicted by the Secret Service. So basically, the Secret Service is saying, like, hey, you're wanted, and that allows them to create warrants now, like ask for warrants. And so the first warrant they get is for his Yahoo email address. So they can kind of peer into his life, what accounts he has, and kind of what he's doing, how he's communicating. So that provides some very valuable information. So he's living a pretty good life. He has some fancy cars, goes on vacation a lot to his home in Bali, Indonesia. He's living it up. One time he goes to this cafe in Morocco for vacation. He's up on the second story and the Secret Service is there and they're about to apprehend him. And just conveniently, there's a terrorist bombing in this cafe. And Seleznev has a pretty serious head injury. And he's immediately flown back to Moscow for treatment. So I think this one actually was a coincidence. But it's very strange that you just happen to be set up to apprehend this guy and there's a bombing. Like, how often does that happen? But he's in a coma for 2 weeks, and then he basically spends a year of his life in the hospital. And then 2 years after that, basically living next to the hospital so that he can go have surgeries on his spine and his brain. Obviously, he's not doing a whole lot of hacking in the hospital, and his shop closes in 2012 due to a lack of fresh dumps, pretty much. But 2 years later, he's back to hacking, this time as Tupac. Yeah, and he uses Tupac a lot in his banner ads and his marketing, which is pretty funny. But, of course, he's come back and he's tons of new improvements. So rather than selling his personal dumps that he gets, he's also selling for other hackers. So he's a known hacker at this point. He's got a great scale of things, and he's selling for some of the biggest dumps of this time while it's in operation. So some of you might have heard of is the Target breach, the Michaels breach, and Home Depot. Those were all sold. Those credit card numbers were found on his site being advertised for sale, which is crazy that like his shop is basically the site to go for any credit card you want. And it also has 24/7 support now, which is pretty cool. This is not a one-man operation anymore. He's got customer support. It was basically likened to Amazon at the time. You could search for either like zip code that you want. So, you know, they have geographical like alerts basically. So like you can't make a purchase in Virginia and then also make a purchase half an hour later in California. So you can search for zip code of where you want those cards to be from. You can search for providers, so like, or payment processor, Visa, MasterCard, Discover. It's pretty high-tech site for its time, and especially for the dark web too. He also made a site called POS Dumps, which is basically a tutorial site. So people buy these dumps from a site, but now what do I do with them? Well, he'll teach you. Basically shows you how to write card numbers and card data to blank cards so you can take them to the ATM and withdraw cash from them. And with that as well, he teaches you how to find the zip code related to a card and also the credit limit so you don't set off as much of alert from the banks. And obviously he also advertised his 2-box site. And it's doing pretty well for the dark web. In its first month of operation, it had about 3,300 unique visitors, which is pretty good. It's more than my blog. I won't say by how much, but it's a pretty large margin. However, in 2014, he is captured. So how did this happen? Well, on July 1st, they received a tip that he was in the Maldives vacationing, but he would be leaving 4 days later on the 5th. Which doesn't really help the Secret Service because they don't have an extradition treaty with the US, and it's an 18-hour flight from Hawaii, which really cuts into your time. You only have 4 days to basically figure all of this out. So they basically come up with an agreement with the Maldives of they won't interfere if you arrest him and take him back to the US. His lawyers really harp on this a lot in their appeals and in litigation. And they won't say that he was arrested in the Maldives. They'll say he was kidnapped. and he's basically being held illegally because they don't have an extradition treaty. But they do fly over, they charter a flight, and he's intercepted at the airport as he's about to leave. He's flown to Guam, which Guam in July is not very pleasant, especially when you're in prison. But he puts up a fight there, and he doesn't want to be flown to mainland US. He stays there for a couple of weeks, which just sounds painful to me. But eventually he's flown to the US, and they proceed with litigation. So they do get his laptop. It's powered on, and they never power it off on their flight to Guam, and they do some forensics while they're there. So they had access to his Yahoo email before. And of course, you get, when you create an account, they show you your username and password for some reason. And it was shown that he was consistently using Smouse as his username and Ochko123 as his password. So I'll let you Google what Ochko is in Russian. But so what do we think his password was? The keys to his criminal enterprise, basically. Any guesses?
Hunter 2.
All right. Close. Same password he used for everything else, of course. How could you remember any other passwords than Ochko123? So yeah, they get into his laptop, and you're basically over at that point. He didn't really have any good security besides this one password. And on his laptop, he was caught with 1.7 million credit card numbers, which, yeah, that's pretty damning evidence to say you're not really getting away after that. So that was the big piece of evidence that they show in court. And in 2017, he's sentenced. So why would it take 3 years to process this guy? And he does go to court and take it all the way to trial. Doesn't take a plea deal, which is just crazy because you're caught. They have years of evidence on you, and he still puts up a fight. This should be an open and shut case. So basically, well, his father's a member of the Russian Congress, pretty much, and they think at first maybe Russia can put some weight on the U.S. and get him back to Russia. But that doesn't work out. In their phone calls, which it's all public, online, through court documents. I can share those if you want. But they talk about a bunch of different plans, basically, to get him out. They talk about escape in code words. They're like, there's this Uncle Andre and trips to the hospital, some very strange code speak. But that ends up not working out. So they try to bribe the prosecutors. And they say in their phone calls again that they'll pay them as much as they make in a single year, which turns out to be $10 million. I don't know what federal prosecutor makes $10 million in a year. They must have some crazy salaries in Russia. But yeah, obviously that doesn't work out either. But yeah, once you're a prosecutor, you can't really go easy on the person you're prosecuting, or it'll look like you took the bribe. So they take it all the way to trial, and you don't really have a good excuse at that point. A jury of US citizens, when you're accused of basically forcing small businesses to close. Some of them went bankrupt with fees or fines from payment processors because of your PCI compliance, things like that. The trust in your business after you've been hacked and millions of credit card numbers have been sold from your business. Yeah, so there's a lot of evidence against him. He's convicted. I think the trial takes like 8 days, but it's pretty open and shut at that point from the jury. And so the U.S. has federal processing or sentencing guidelines that basically say, like, was this crime committed outside of the U.S.? Plus 2 points. Was the damage in excess of $5 million? Plus 30 points. There's a bunch of different things. So they add it all up, and he's at 59 points, which says recommends a life sentence, pretty much. The funny thing is that the guidelines max out at 43 points. So yeah, I know cybercrime can be pretty weird because when you have millions and millions of credit card numbers, that could be like thousands of life sentences according to some laws. But yeah, that's still a lot. He was a huge player. So what eventually happened is he got 27 years in prison, which the prosecutors were pushing for 30. They come out to a little under it, but that's still the largest sentence handed down for a cybercrime. And the prosecutors pretty much pushed for this because it's not every day you get a Russian hacker under your control. Normally they stay in Russia. This was a very rare chance to actually prosecute one. So they wanted to make an example of him. He was charged with initially 40 counts, but the 2 of those counts were from a restaurant. I don't know why they dropped those, but they did. But it was 9 counts of hacking, 10 counts of wire fraud, and a couple other things. One of them is possession of 15 or more unauthorized access devices, and where an access device is like a credit card number. So 1.7 million is slightly more than 15. So he was basically sentenced to pay $169 million in restitution, and that was to the 3,700 financial institutions, like banks, that had suffered damage from this because of their fraud protection and things they needed to put in place. And he also has to pay about $500,000 to the victim businesses that he hacked. And so this was just a federal case. He was also charged in Nevada, Atlanta, and the state of Washington for different things. So like one of the payment processors decided to also pursue a case outside of this. And he actually appealed one in the state of Washington one as early as March of this year. And you can actually read those documents, and they actually live stream all of their, or not live stream, but they record all of their court hearings, which they're pretty boring, but just turn it on in the background and you can listen to lawyers debate about why your Russian hacker should be let go. So yeah, that was pretty much the life of Roman Seleznev. He did write about 10-page confession letter, basically saying like, I've had a hard life. I turned to cybercrime because it was my only option. And yeah, maybe it's true. Maybe he's just trying to get out. But he also got a degree in hospitality and restaurant management, which is cool. I don't know. Maybe he'll start a cafe. What? From RIT? No, unfortunately not. Yeah, we do. Yeah, but it's in North Carolina now. You could write to him if you want. I thought about it, but I don't know. It feels kind of weird. So yeah, yeah.
Have you thought about writing to him to let him know that he was the inspiration for an entire presentation at our Computer Security Club?
I should. It should like, I don't know. Yeah. So. I don't know. That might be a little shady. That might compromise our integrity a little bit. We'll have a vote later. We can see. But yeah, any other questions about this? That's pretty much all I have. How you get out of this thing?
Thank you, Nathaniel. Jesus Christ. Keep that. Next up, we're going to have Jim talking about some red team stuff. Do you want speaker notes?
No.
Okay.
Proud Findaro. That's good.
It's supposed to mirror now. This is the garbage laptop.
It looks nice though.
Yeah, yeah. All right, it's gonna be on the other screen. Nope, I don't want that. I want it to
Oh,
mirror.
I can't have both.
Yeah, I'm trying.
All right, Jim, let's see what you got.
Don't got much.
Is it gonna be more than 5 minutes?
I hope not, actually. I'm trying to keep it like tight. It's just like, this exists. Come on, do it.
Red team spawn. Who breaks stuff?
There we go. All right, everybody, give it up for Jim talking about some red team stuff. Here's the mic.
Oh, thank you.
Also, dismiss that little white number, everybody.
I don't know how to do that. Is there an X?
Yeah, it's at the top, right? There you go.
Got it. Hey guys, how's it going? So today I'm just going to be talking about Red Team at RIT, just how our little student-run organization works. Hopefully inspire some of you guys to come try it out because we're urgently recruiting new people. This slide deck, I don't think you guys can see this. It was written by Kyle Coretto and Micah Martin, not me. I kind of like stole it from Micah, so yeah. So I'm Jim. I'm a 4th, 5th year-ish. I'll be done in December, hopefully. I've done some blue team, some white team, and more recently, red team. This semester, I'm the chief of red team. I do mostly Linux stuff. And if you can't already tell, I don't know, I really don't like public speaking. I've never given a presentation here before. Yeah, so here we go. So what is red team? This is something that like gets thrown around in industry a lot. You'll probably see 1,000 different job descriptions that are red team, whatever. So I'm only going to be talking about the context of what it's like here and what we do. So don't be surprised if you like you've seen other things. Nothing's necessarily right or wrong. It's just how different people use it. So first of all, blue team is like defend, right? Their job is to keep things going, keep things working properly. They're kind of protecting an infrastructure from the red team. So then that means that our job as a red team is to, it slides honestly, it's not that important. We're there to like facilitate the whole event, right? Even though blue teams are competing against each other, we're kind of there to make stuff happen. So we're kind of like, yeah, facilitating the fun. We're making all the good stuff happen. We're getting there, maybe we're breaking services, we're publishing passwords, whatever we're doing. So the main idea is to keep everything going in a nice, smooth fashion. And we want to have access to everything all the time so that we can do what we want and make sure that we keep the competition going and keep everything changing, right? So if someone adapts really quickly to something we did, we want to make sure we still have the ability to change it again, right? So it's kind of like the competition's always layering up, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And we also, like, we want to work together, we want to coordinate attacks, and we take all that and put it together so that we can, really the whole point is see who's good at blue teaming, right? And we can kind of make a ranking with all the score and stuff of how well people competed so that they can get prizes and all that fun stuff. So as I said, some other stuff you might see in industry, we usually don't do this. Of course, like, you know, some stuff happens. Like, you know, accidentally we'll DDoS IRSec or something with Jack's tool. That's occasionally. But we're not really pen testing. We're not out here. We're not exploiting O-days. We don't really do social engineering. Like, there might be some memes and stuff, but it's not really what we're about. So this whole idea is like, how can we measure people's success? How can we attack them equally, but also, if you attack everyone equally, right, you'll just have a bunch of tiers. So you need to be able to actually differentiate how well people are doing. And the way we can kind of do that is by like layering these attacks, right? So you'll start off with something really simple, maybe, and only a few teams get past that. So once you know that, you can kind of target it a little bit more. Maybe like these people are a little better than these other people. Or not better, sorry, more experienced, something like that, you know. And then, you know, so we just kind of elevate the attacks gradually, and over the course of the competition, there might be 50 different things that we do to try and sort out who's who and who's doing what. So this is all, yeah. So then at the end, you theoretically have someone who's surmounted more than other people have, right? So you'll have someone that they got past all of your stuff and maybe their service was still up at the end. That's pretty rare, but I think it has happened once. So it's a really hard thing to do, right? We have to be able to keep access to everything all the time. That's the main challenge. That's what most of our work is based around. But then attacking people evenly, it's kind of like a catch-22, right? Where you don't want to focus anyone because it's not fun if like some group is sitting there, they don't have anything to do because we're not doing anything to them. And then some other team has everything burning down and they don't, like that's not fun either. So it's finding a happy medium where you're not maybe hammering people that still haven't recovered from tier 1, but you're also like not focusing any one team. So it's kind of challenging. But the biggest thing next to persistence is leaving a trail, especially like you've heard the guys mention RITSEC already. It's all about teaching people how to respond to attacks. So they have to know the attack is happening in order to do that. And like we wanted them to be able to see artifacts. Like we're not in there, we're not clearing logs very much. All of our stuff is sitting right there for people to see and report on, just so they can get better at that kind of thing. Because that's what a lot of people are going to be doing out on co-op or in the full-time jobs. And then the other thing, just like documenting. So we do this a lot, especially for RITSEC, where at the end we'll come out and talk to people about what we did, and someone might say like, oh, I was really stuck with this thing you did like at lunchtime. Can you show me how you did that? And then we can maybe pull up some log of what we did and show, yeah, here, this is how you would see this is how you would prevent this from happening again, etc. If you're interested in any of our projects, I'm not going to dive into them right now, but you can check out our GitHub. It's RIT Red Team. Just the main idea is that we do infrastructure, which is like making all of our tools work together, right? Kind of a central command for everything so that all of these red teamers and all of our tools can all be going on simultaneously and somewhat smoothly. This is hard, right? Because not only do you have to have like the red team knowledge, you also have to be basically a software engineer, and none of us are that. So it's lots of programming, it's lots of big projects, and a lot of our stuff that we write, to be honest, it's not very good. Like maybe we're writing it in an afternoon or at 4 o'clock in the morning, it's not going to work very well. So kind of like patching everything together is really hard. So this is why we need more people. And also the biggest thing, no one wants to really write infrastructure, right? That's boring. Like the cool stuff is when you're writing malware and implants, like what John was talking about. Like no one wants to sit here and like write secure servers and all that. It's just not very interesting. Yeah. So implants, that's the fun stuff. That's like malware we're actually dropping on boxes. It might execute actions, give us information, let us know what's going on, all that sort of thing. We have a ton of these. We need a ton more. It's like, this is where like the meat of our stuff is. This is what we're doing during competitions always. So now, this is what this presentation is mostly about, right? I'm just trying to recruit people, so please. If you're interested at all, we do kind of have to have a requirement, right? Because you can't really red team if you've never blue teamed. So unfortunately, freshmen, this isn't something that's going to be super available to you. But our VAPT is a fantastic interest group for security. So I was just talking to Will about this before. We're definitely going to be working together a lot. And yeah, so come do that. And so if you've done blue team a few times, and if you've got some availability, this is a pretty big time sink, like spread out through across the semester. Team player, that one's a little bit of a loose requirement, right? Like basically it's just, we want to be able to like rely on people towards the end. So if you're going to give it your best effort, yeah, that's pretty cool, I think. So just do that, please. And these desired skills, like this isn't something you have to have, right? Like if you walk into the room not knowing very much, that's completely fine. It's pretty encouraged. A little over a year ago, I didn't really know anything, and Micah kind of showed me everything I needed to know. And I wasn't great right off the bat, and still not great, but it's the best way to learn. And when you're around an entire team of people who are all trying to show you the same thing, right, it's great. Like there's always people to ask questions and all that sort of thing. So yeah, if you like scripting, writing code, if you use computers, the requirements are pretty low, honestly, as long as you have passion, right? Like that's, which we'll talk about more in depth now, yeah. So this is like the only thing that really can't be taught, right? Like you can learn everything there is to know about the Linux and OS and all that stuff, but you gotta just come hang out in the labs, really. That's all it takes. So we'll have like red team meetings and all that kind of stuff. If you like doing security in your free time, like this is something you're gonna like. If you like writing code, figuring out cool things, learning about how stuff works under the hood, breaking it, like that, all that stuff, please, yeah, that'll be fun. So you should come through. So if you are interested in joining, there's a Google form to fill out. Join Red Team, ritsec.club. If you're not sure that you have the skills or whatever, you're a little nervous, doesn't matter, ignore that. Just come talk to us anyway. You can hit me up on Workplace, email me, come talk to me in person at the barbecue or whatever. We're just trying to, ASAP would be great because we're trying to organize an event kind of soon. And we're really looking to get a bunch of new people at that who have never had any experience before. So definitely, get that done as soon as you can if you're interested. We're going to be having not meetings or practices or tryouts. I'm not really sure what the word is for it. I guess just meetings. So if you talk to me, we'll like make a big chat on Workplace or whatever, and we'll figure out a good time for everyone to meet and such. So yeah, I know I blasted through that. But just join Red Team if you think it sounds cool at all. So it's really fun. It's been my best experience at RITSEC, honestly. Not to diss anything else, but it's great. I mean, Blue Team's fun, but like Red Team is actually fun. Yeah, so any questions? If not, go to this link. Please fill it out. Please join. We need you. Thank you.
So if we had a lanyard to give you right now, Jim, we would, but they're on their way in the future-ish. You've got to be signed into your RIT Gmail.
If that doesn't work, just talk to me, but it should.
I tested it yesterday. It should work. All right. Shannon. Nope. You ready?
No.
She's taking her good old
Is that fine?
Yeah,
you
as
should
long as
All
it's
right,
10
let's give it
people
up for
here.
Shannon.
I get speaker notes. Hello. Okay, so I'm going to be giving a talk about how to ask technical questions. I have a little agenda here. I'm not a big fan of agendas for presentations, but in like the corporate world, you're always supposed to have one. It's sort of like how movie trailers these days show the entire frickin' movie in like the whole 2 minutes. People really like to know what's going on within your presentations so that they stay till the end. I don't know. But yeah, I'm just going to do an about me, the inspiration for this talk, because it's really just stolen, importance of questions and why I'm giving the talk, and then I'll go through a couple examples, and then I'll give you a cheat sheet at the end. So it should be fun. Should be a good time. I also am starving, just full disclosure, so if I do stutter or something, I'm ready for that barbecue. Yeah, so more about me, because I know you guys are really like confused about who's up here talking. You did hear my intro twice, but I was class clown in high school, fun fact. I made the painting in the CSEC lab that's up there, so that's pretty cool. I have blue team, red team, black team, white team, as you already know, so if you are curious, I was on the blue team that won all the eggs at UV. Egg. So we love the egg. You can see the eggs at the parties. It's that. Not that we do that. And then this is my first research presentation ever, so please be nice to me. Everyone should give a presentation during their time here, but yeah, I haven't yet. So inspiration for this talk, I went to the Women in Cybersecurity Conference, which I try to go to every year. Last year it was in Pittsburgh. The year before that was in Chicago. And in Pittsburgh, someone named Gabby Raymond, who works at MITRE, which I also work at, gave a quick 5-minute talk that is exactly what you're about to hear. And she stole all of her information from the article linked below. So when the slides go on the wiki later, right, Ian, you can click that link. Oh my God, it's already on the wiki. So if you want to go read that article because you don't want to hear me talk, go for it. Go for it. We'll see. So yeah, Gabby is actually the mentor to my mentor. So it's kind of a cool thing that I am now plagiarizing her talk. Thank you, Gabby. So why this is important. Presenting is a two-way thing. Presenting is really fun. It's really important. You're all going to have to do it in your life at some point. So if you want a safe environment to try it out, come to RITSEC. Give it a try. If you don't sign up, I'm just going to keep giving them on random topics like this, so please sign up so you don't have to hear me talk every week. It's also kind of exhausting. So yeah, but if you've ever been to a presentation, this happens a lot when companies come, you will sit through it, maybe you're not entertained, I don't know, maybe they went over your head and nothing made sense, and then you get to the end and they're like, any questions? And then it's silent. And when it's a company or a sponsor especially, that's really bad because they're there to get that interaction. So it's important to be a really good audience member, especially at RITSEC where someone can be nervous, it's their first time presenting, and they're showing tools that they spent a lot of time on and that they're really interested in. So they want to show that you kind of it sparks some interest in you. So being a good audience is definitely a big part of being a good community in RITSEC. So is any question a good question? No, not really. You can definitely ask a stupid question, but Gabby went over this little story about how she was in a really important meeting and someone gave a presentation and then it was silence and there was that awkwardness and it sucked, and so she asked a question that was really, really dumb, and that kind of made her feel dumb, but asking that question gave a buffer for other people to think of more questions. And it also kind of helps other people get the courage to give questions. So that's a really important thing. So even if you can't think of something good, think of anything. And these are, the next few slides will go over stuff that you can always have ready for any presentation you go to, especially a technical one. So clarification, help the audience understand key points of the presentation. Can you clarify what you meant by, and then refer to something in the slide? Maybe you don't care, that's fine, but it gives other people time to think of better questions. Additional case, you presented X in the context of Y. I was wondering how X could be applied to situation Z. This broadens the scope of the talk. So this could be applied to a tool. You presented this tool in the context of pen testing. I was wondering how the same tool could be applied to a defensive situation. Comparison. You apply X to situation Z. I was wondering why you value approach X over approach Z. Why did you use Cobalt Strike instead of Metasploit? Maybe it was a red teaming thing instead of a pen testing thing. Inconsistency. If you've ever been to ShmooCon, they give you a very long talk about why ShmooCon was founded. Bruce Potters was really sick of people just talking about, some bullshit. So it's okay to call people out. It is a safe environment to do it in a polite way. This is a good one. You said X earlier in the talk, but ended saying Y. Why'd you say that? And that also helps the presenter understand the flow of their talk. Distinction. You treat A and B as if they are the same, but what if they're different? This draws attention to separate considerations. Maybe you thought of things differently. Counterexample. In your example, you said X, but suppose Y instead. How would Y affect your argument? This could be maybe there's a different variable going on. So for a physical pen test, I tell you all about how I manipulated a woman because I cyberstalked her before and found out she loved cats or babies, and I walked up to her and I was like, oh my God, your cat, oh my God, babies, I love that. But what happens if the person that I'm targeting is a white male who's old and has never been on the internet and is like doesn't like cats or like hates pets, how would I attack that person? And support. Share your thoughts, collaborate. Have you ever considered why during the deployment of X? This is a good way to collaborate with projects. That's really important. When you present a tool, a lot of times we want other people to hop on your research and work together. Security through community again. And here's a little cheat sheet of a couple things that you could always ask no matter what. You don't need to know anything. You don't even need to watch the presentation. You can just say, what is the key idea behind this research? How can I get started on something like this? How could lessons from this talk be applied to, etc.? And what is the future of this work? So yeah, that's it. I thought it's a cute little talk, so I decided to steal it. Definitely consider it going forward, especially when people start presenting more technical things. Please be considerate that they are passionate about their presentation and that you should try and be too. That's it.
All right, thank you very much, Shannon. You guys have any questions for Shannon? Worth a shot. All right, so that is the last thing we have for research today. If you guys are coming to the barbecue later, we hope to see you there. We're going to walk over there right after we get cleaned up from